Sister Wafa has a question, and quite an interesting question. She says that she hears on many of the Islamic channels when a sheikh is giving a talk or speaking to the audience, somebody rings in, a female, and says, Sheikh, I love you for the sake of Allah. She says this kind of saying from a woman to a man who's not a mahram, is this allowed, Sheikh?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله الأمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم told us in an authentic hadith, whenever one of you loves his brother, he should notify him. So the sunnah is, if a person loves someone else, he would tell him that he loves him for the sake of Allah. Now, this rule is general, but you have to look at the pros and cons, in the sense that if it is from the same gender, there's no problem. If a man tells another one that he loves him for the sake of Allah, and the love for the sake of Allah means that I love this person because he's a pious person, because he performs prayers in the masjid, because he is kind to others, he is kind to his parents, he connects to his kinship, and so on. He gives charity, he fasts voluntary days. He's a good practicing Muslim, and that is why I love him for the sake of Allah. But if I love him because he's rich and I'm hoping that he gives me something, or because he's influential and he may help me in government offices or so, then this is not for the sake of Allah. So if it's from the same gender, man to man, woman to a woman, there's no problem in that, because there's no fear of any temptation that may take place. But when it is from a man to a woman, or vice versa, then this is not permissible. Simply because if you call a sheikh, being a sheikh does not mean he's not human anymore. Mm-hmm. He is still human, and he is still, there's a big possibility that he may be tempted. So when a woman caller calls in and she says to the sheikh, I love you for the sake of Allah, no matter what, maybe the chances are very slim, and the sheikh, being supposedly a pious and a practicing Muslim, would not be affected. But no one knows what goes into our hearts. Therefore, this should not be permitted. It should be eliminated, and going direct to the question and to the subject is far greater and more important than showing your affection or your love for the sheikh. And I personally think that this is not permissible.
Can it be said in a wider context? Can somebody say, Sheikh, we love you for the sake of Allah? Or is that clear? Is that better in that terms if they want to say it? Or
again, there are so many other men who could say this to the sheikh. He does not need you to specifically say this to him. And sometimes the caller's voice might be soft, and shaitan is there. Shaitan is always present.
Jazakallah khair.